Greetings, fellow slingers. Welcome back to Roll the Hard 20 podcast. It is I, your trusted GM, Brian, welcoming you once again to the holiday season 2021. You know, as we draw close to the end of the year, this show, like so many other shows, has a tendency to start dropping our hosts. People get committed to family events. They get committed to going and doing other things or work related, or they're away from their computers. And I think we're not the only ones that lack it. And if anything shows us after running a show for almost 4 years that this is pretty consistent. But as we draw to the close of 2021, we find ourselves reflecting, not just on the past year, but in all measures on life as a whole. I was sitting down thinking about what I'd go over to fill this week's vacancy, and I began to think about life as a whole. You know, not a whole like what's on year 6, but a whole like whole cherry pie. And I think thoughts like those kind of thoughts that creep out of their dark corners, and when you're sitting down reading or when you're enjoying your evening drink or whatever the reason may be. And usually when you look on that kind of stuff, you think, well, maybe the change in the weather, or you think about Christmas trees and Christmas lights and thoughts of loved ones we once knew and friends that took different journeys other than our own. But we don't have time for that kind of crap tonight. No way. We're just going to sit down and we're going to reflect on the hobby that we love and enjoy. Role-playing games. This past year, Roll the Hard 20 podcast has seen a few changes. Total understatement. We've seen the addition of my oldest friend as he joined the show after we reconnected. Now, I'd like to take a moment to discuss this. I've known my good friend Chris Weaver since 1985. And back then, we used to spend many a weekend at his house playing D&D and going off and doing other stupid things like lighting M80s and doing all kinds of stupid things that people our age should not have been doing, but we were doing them just the same. And I gotta say that it's really good to have him back, you know, in that nestled era of our lives again, and even better that he's now on the show. I really enjoy that. It turns out he would fill a category of a friend who took a different journey other than my own, and life has been kind enough to see us regroup. The show's also seen a departure of another one of my good friends, Koosh. I knew that he was going to be leaving because he gave me a heads up a couple weeks before he was due to depart. Apparently he was taking a job, and the show was going to conflict with that because not only was he moving away, but he wasn't able to stay on the show due to confidentiality arrangements that he had signed. So during that time, I was taking my time as far as looking for other individuals that would fill in that ad hoc chair. And it came down to 2 individuals. Both of them were very charismatic. And I think what it really did was it boiled down to the time zone era, as well as their interaction when we first began to communicate via Zoom at the time. And Ryan Funston, amazing individual who I'm very pleased was able to take that chair and sit down. At the time, the show had gone fully remote, and he was able to meet all the criteria of that. Not that it's hard to do, because I think everybody's playing via Zoom at one way or another. But we brought him on board, and then we said goodbye to Koosh, and we just kept on rolling. And then about, I don't know, maybe a quarter way through the year, my family and I made the conscientious decision that we were going to move cross country, start a different life, start looking at the golden years of our lives. And honestly, I didn't know how the show would evolve after the move. I personally was never in doubt that Roll the Hard 20 podcast would continue. I think, as I spoke to Chris about this, as long as I'm vertical, the show would continue on. But I just wasn't sure what the medium of that show would consist of. Because honestly, I was feeling that we were having a problem with the energy. And it was kind of lacking. It had kind of plateaued from what it once was when we were meeting in person in the rage room. I mean, there's a certain element of energy that goes into a show, especially when everybody is in the same room and you're bouncing ideas and you're playing off the energy that other people have. It's different than when you're playing via online. And if you have individuals that don't bring a lot of energy to begin with, and you try to get them to bolster that energy via the digital eye of destiny, it just doesn't happen. In fact, it makes things worse. And so I was noticing over time that as I was editing each and every one of these shows, that things were kind of they weren't going the way they wanted them to go. I'm sorry, I'm looking through my notes right now. I know this kind of seems like an unusual end of the year type of episode, a real downer or whatnot, but let me assure you, this episode, it actually has a happy ending. So let me jump to that portion of this thing, because I don't want to dreary you on, and you can make your own analytical leap to my solutions. And you'll notice by now that there's been a huge change in the Hardslinger roster, and that was a good thing. As I said before, the combination of hosts on a show is a lot like making a nice Italian dish. There are particular ingredients that must be assembled and mixed properly. So I'm going to give you a dish that you can't refuse. The result, obviously, is an amazing concoction of fun and energy. With Junior being the only original Hardslinger besides myself, the faces of Roll the Hard 20 podcast bring back the fervor of which we started off, with our newest Hardslinger, David Radke, both complementing and completing our cast of assorted hosts. As fate would have it, I'm going to bring this back around full circle. It was actually Radke who was kind of going neck and neck with Ryan to join the Hardslingers. And it wasn't that I chose one over the other, or one was better than the other. They're both equally great, and I would have added another window to have brought him on board, because at the time I was looking to make serious changes to the show to bring a sense of energy, and Ryan really brought a sense of energy, and he still does, and so does David. And the thing is that David was one of the two individuals that would have been on the show, except for the fact that the time zone difference at the time that we were looking for somebody immediately made it more difficult, because we started recording at 7 o'clock, which is 10 o'clock Florida. And when I moved to Florida, we brought it down to 9 o'clock, which kind of bumped everything and actually made it more user-friendly for him as well. But you know what? We've got him now, and it's great we've got him, because like I said, he really pumps up the volume. We've also brought the show to multiple broadcasting apps just in the past year and a half or so. Obviously, we're out there on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify. We're also on iHeart Radio now. We're on Amazon Podcasts. We're on Audible. And we're on all kinds of other, a whole plethora of sub-apps that are each playing our tune. I mean, if you Google Roll the Hard 20 Podcast, we are like on so many different things. And I just can't say enough to you listeners out there. All you fellow slingers out there, thank you so much for listening to the show. It tickles me when I see people subscribing to our YouTube channel, that Roll the Hard 20. Don't forget, subscribe. Click that little bell. No, I don't mean to be a shill about that, but honestly, when I see, because I get emails when I see people subscribe to the show. I get emails notifications when people join the Patreon page, and when they write into the show via the website, or they write into the show via the Gmail account or whatever. I mean, I just love it, and I answer each and every one of those questions. I try to get other people involved with it, and I just can't say enough. We've got the greatest listeners, because I tell you what, if you're sticking with us after all this time, I love you guys. You know, like I showed on the last episode 36, one of my greatest fellow slingers out there, my hard slinger, Eric Kent, had created this beautiful 3D rendered skull with a tarantula on its head, and its eye sockets are actually chutes for a dice tower. Very, very loud, but man, this thing is awesome. I love this thing. Keep it right here on my desk. And I've want to say that what else we had? As for the future, sorry, I got to continue reading my notes here. I know you've heard me say it before, but we've got other things in the works. Other systems, other adventure paths, other shows. That's right, other shows. Right now, we're currently begun recording a secondary show. As time and holidays allow us, we'll begin to complete that show. I've also been in touch with the Hard Slingers of yore, Samwise and Tone Dog, and let me tell you, these guys, they are ready for another session of Delta Green. I tell you what, I've been studying it up, the next pre-published adventure, and I'm really excited. I think we're going to wait till after the holidays when everybody's schedules start to calm down. We'll start running them through that. We'll get some good listening going back out to you. As far as how we'll release these secondary shows in the future, it's still up in the air, but we've considered the idea of releasing it to certain Patreon tiers once the certain stretch goals have been met. We're still working out the intricacies of that and which shows we'll be releasing to you fellow slingers via the main RSS feed, because I want to make sure you guys still get all the awesome stuff, and which ones may be dropped via the Patreon. So just stay tuned with that. As always, I want to make sure that all you guys have a safe and happy holiday out there. However you celebrate it, make sure you celebrate it with love and affection. Give your family and your friends, your children, your spouse, your parents, your neighbor across the street, your neighbor's wife across the street. Give them love. Okay, trust me, they'll love it. Neighbor across the street, he may not like it, but she might like it. Who knows? I don't know. Maybe he'll like it too. Jump on in. Roll that dice. Where's my D20? Anyways, somewhere around here. I don't care. Get that dice sheet going. Anywho, I want to thank each and every one of you out there for listening to the show. And remember, top off your glass and warm up your dice as we continue to bring you Roll the Hard 20 podcast. Have a good year, and we'll see you next time. Thank you for joining us once again on Roll the Hard 20 podcast. Remember, you can find us and subscribe to the show on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, iHeart Radio, Amazon Podcasts, and Audible. And if you like what you're listening to, leave us that 5-star rating and review. We've also got a YouTube channel at Roll the Hard 20, so if you're into watching, head on over there and hit that like bell, and don't forget to subscribe. We can also be found in the wild on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, so don't forget to check us out and look for us out there. You can also contact the show directly at rollthehard20podcast@gmail.com, or head on over to the website at rollthehard20podcast.com, where you can also download the current show directly and view our archives and galleries. We got a lot of interesting stuff posted there, so head on over. And finally, join us on our Patreon page at patreon.com/rollthehard20podcast, where you can become a hard slinger and pick up swag. So, until next session, keep your dice warm and your glass topped off as you roll those hard 20s.